All right, should we all stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, hold the call.
Councilmember Compton. Emmeline Baker.
Here,
Happy.
he's on his way.
Here.
Keller.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Mayor Bell.
Yeah, is he online?
They believe he's on the phone.
He's about 2 minutes out,
Okay.
but he's on the phone too.
Councilor Happy, are you on the phone?
I am. I'm literally pulling into the parking lot now, so I'll be inside momentarily.
He'll be here. Hmm? Listen. In your house.
This boy down. There.
There. All right, is it working out?
Yep.
Pete, you wanna say you're here?
Yep, I'm here. Just parking, so I'll see you momentarily.
Yeah, looks like he's trying to talk, but
Okay.
nothing's coming
We're
through.
gonna count him here.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, any additions or amendments to the agenda?
We did have a last minute request, that came in this morning from the Cascade Locks Historical Museum requesting, funding for the community support program. I emailed it to council this morning. I wanted to get your approval to add it, obviously.
Okay, so you wanna add it as, it's 6 after D,
Yeah, 6E.
6E. Is there a motion?
A motion to add Cascade Locks Museum funds request to the agenda, I think item 6E.
Is there a second? A second. Yeah. Roll call vote?
Councilmember Compton. Emmeline Baker.
Aye.
Happy.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Mayor Bell.
Aye. Okay. Okay, adoption of consent agenda.
I move to adopt the consent agenda.
I would like to amend that and adopt A, B, C, D, and hold E out for discussion.
I accept that friendly amendment.
Second?
The amendment. So I move, so what you want is that second?
There we go. Any comments? Okay.
Last clarifying question. Oh, no, about
Yes.
procedurally.
Yes,
So a no vote would deny A, B, C, and D.
No, but
no,
we'd be voting on the first 4 as consent agenda. E's held out for discussion, and after discussion, we'll vote
then
on
we
that.
vote.
Okay.
Yeah, so a yes vote would approve A through D, and E would move to action items become 6F.
I guess. I don't understand why. We approved them last week, last time, why aren't we approving them this time?
Well, anytime, we're going to remind council, anytime there's an action item, there's always a motion, a second, then it goes into discussion. So there will be discussion on 6E. Does that sound any action item that we do. It's motion, second, that goes in, and then discussion.
So might I amend my motion? I move to adopt consent agenda items A through D. Separately and E after that, after discussion.
The museum is getting something that has to be voted on this evening.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm just confused. You just asked if we had any amendments or changes to the agenda. This is a change to the agenda. So why wasn't this done during the portion that said, are there any amendments or changes to the agenda? Last week, we approved these similar permits without any discussion. And so now, what's the difference?
The difference is E is different.
E is,
There was no
it's the
C last.
museum, E is new, it's the museum. The letter from Janice, this one.
I thought we were.
No, consent agenda E is Albert Nance.
Yeah.
All right, that's about as clear as mud. So it's still open, any action item, it still stays the same. It goes, it's voted, it's second, we go into discussion.
That's not my question.
Okay.
My question is, why are we taking a consent agenda item E and now moving it? You had already asked, are there any amendments or changes to the agenda? Like,
Because somebody wants to discuss it, that's
Hey,
why.
hang on, no, it's not time for public comment. Let's figure this out. Okay, I see your point.
Practice has been that items in the consent agenda have been pulled out during this portion of the agenda. It can be council's they can change their practice to it needs to be done during additions or amendments to agenda. It's council's purview and how they want to operate.
I didn't understand,
Yes,
so it's my lack of understanding of the history of it, so.
Yes.
thank you for clarification.
Okay. So are we good with moving it to,
We restate the motion and
yes,
let's move forward.
all right, restate it, Denise, the council
I'll
member.
try to be more clear.
Okay.
I approve to adopt consent agenda items A through D. And at this time, allowing E to be,
3E to go to 6E.
do I say allowing E to be? Anyway, just I move to adopt consent agenda items A through D at this time.
And hold me for discussion.
No E for discussion.
And so move 3E to 6E, correct?
No, no, we just do it next. And to discuss and vote on E. So my motion is to vote now on A through D,
Okay,
I
to
second.
discuss and vote E after this.
we still gotta vote on it,
Is
We can do
there-
that right next after this, then.
yes.
I think we just want to have some discussion on that one item from the consent agenda.
Okay,
So, but I'd like to vote on the first part and then we discuss, then I'll make a second. motion.
yes. Okay,
Carolyn, is that clear enough? Thanks.
roll call vote.
Council member Amberly Baker,
I,
Happy,
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mayor Fallon.
Aye. Okay,
I move to approve the OLCC permit application for Albert Nance. And we probably can't discuss it unless I have a second.
Second.
okay, now we go into discussion. Okay, so Councilmember Miller?
Okay. Mr. Nance's applications. First, he failed on his application, failed to answer question 11. Yes, will minors and alcoholic beverage be allowed together in the same area? That was not answered. Question 15, describe the primary activities within the licensed area. He says, looking for people to stand, sit outside with beer and mingle play yard games. That tells me that the primary purpose of this is to sell alcohol outside this establishment. Number 17, do you estimate the number of patrons in the licensed area will be about the same during the entire time that alcohol is sold or is assumed? He marks no. And well, and then he goes on, it's the alcohol monitors. And he does not have alcohol monitors. He has two basically servers. So the area on the outside, when somebody takes an order and goes in to fill the order, that outside is not going to be monitored because it will be out of sight. I mean, it is obvious that the main reason for this application is the ability to sell more beer, which is against the guidelines of the OLCC. And let's talk about what constitutes an event. An event, he has listed for this one, July 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. The only event in that time period is the fireworks display that's on the night of the 4th. There is no events being held on Wanapa that this would be a part of. The OLCC describes events as being down here, as being like a wedding, a athletic event. There were weddings, sporting events, art shows, performing arts, and food service. His food service is very limited, and that basically involves just snack items. Now, further is his map that he has out here on the area that he proposes. I find the map to be a little bit disingenuous in that it puts a block and says current licensed establishment, the building. But that building is two businesses. The half that's next to the side yard is an e-bike shop. So he has got to cross over that property to serve the side yard and the backyard. He also does not include alongside of that building that there is a driveway and a carport. And also on the back side of that building is a private residence. So, and being that you have this separation between his business and these yards, who is actually in control of that yard? We don't have any confirmation from on here from the landlord or owner of the building that this area has been permitted, he has permitted these areas to be used. And I've received numerous complaints lately of people outside standing on the sidewalk drinking beer. We don't have open carry like Hood River does. So I don't know why his is outside drinking beer. It was just a few years ago that the ale house asked to have tables out front of their building and they were denied. So, and it looks like his tables that he has out there are basically on the sidewalks. So that's why I say no to this.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No.
No,
I think that-
okay, all right. We do have Mr. Nance here. Who's-
I haven't answered any of those questions.
If you could please come up and
Yes.
state your name and answer
Sure, absolutely.
some of the.
Albert Nance, citizen of Cascade Locks. I had turned in this paperwork more than a month ago before I actually had an event scheduled, so I knew there was going to be an event during this time period. I am actually going to be holding a fundraiser for Whoever Adopt a Dog during this time period. The fundraiser will be in support of Whoever Adopt a Dog, which is the only dog shelter in the entirety of Hood River County. So they are at risk of closing down because of lack of funds. So we're going to be supporting them through proceeds from any sort of sales, from alcohol sales that we'll be having, beer sales. We're also going to be having an auction for them, and we're also going to be having direct donations for them. The entire side area in the backyard that you mentioned has actually been okayed by all the other residents within the building. And we also will have July 4th, we'll also have July 5th, and we anticipate there to be a good amount of people in town. Again, I turned in this paperwork a long time ago before I was able to nail down the actual event, so that's what we're going to be doing.
Mr. Nance, can you, number 11, about the boxes weren't checked.
Oh,
Can you-
yes, I apologize for that, the box, as you can tell within all of that, was due to the Adobe PDF, and I was clicking everything, and I made a double click that one, so it had checked and then unchecked before I printed it out for you all. Apologies. This paperwork is specifically for OLCC, so if this is approved tonight, I will be sure to check that before I turn in the paperwork to OLCC tomorrow.
And that's a yes on the,
That would be a yes.
for 11.
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
We still don't have any confirmation through here, so how are we to know if your other residents in there or the owner has approved this and your event or what you're saying, you have the event listed as 4th of July. You don't have any of this auction or any of the other stuff on any of them.
Correct.
So
This particular license would allow the establishment to expand for a very short period of time for specific events. According to OLCC rules, I'm allowed to do up to 10 days for that, so I did the entire time period. If I was going to do a long-term extension of this, then I would need approval of everyone involved officially. This particular permit does not request that, so I do not have a comment with it.
Councilman, have any other questions for Mr. Nance?
Could you help to, I know that location, to help me understand the map of where alcohol is permitted, just describe it to me.
Yeah, for sure. We are requesting just the side yard and that backyard. We're hoping to have the side yard. We're hoping to have some tables out there where we can have auction items. We'll also be having a couple of the River Adopt a Dog representatives there. They will be there talking and engaging with the community. As you all know, July 4th weekend, we have a lot of tourists that come through. As you all also know, we have a lot of tourists that are very dog friendly. So we'll want to be outside to engage with them so we can say, hey, please help out the River Adopt a Dog. And then in the backyard area, we're anticipating having a couple of tables down there as well. We're looking to get some outdoor games like cornhole or maybe even walkthroughs, anything that we can have outside. To just keep people entertained, keep people there, and keep people engaged with the fundraiser that we are having.
So when you say side yard, in my mind, I see it's kind of like a driveway that goes under that deck.
Exactly, that driveway is not used at all by any of the tenants. In fact, that isn't used by anyone. Even the person that Mr. Miller alluded to, she doesn't even have an automobile. So that is never used by any of the tenants within the building.
And you've gotten a verbal yes from that tenant as well as Bike Authority.
Absolutely.
And you will have some kind of flags or demarcation.
I will do whatever OLCC demands of me for this particular section of the event.
And that the alcohol monitors, it would make sense to me that there would be an alcohol monitor out there.
We'll have myself and another employee, myself will be inside, and then I'll be making sure that the other employee will be outside. And as far as going in to make the orders, you don't have to go inside and make the orders, we have a digital order taker.
Question on the, defining the area, and I'm gonna use Thunder Island as an example. In the front, there's the sidewalk, then they have a rope up, then they have a walking path in their building. So they allow people to go from the inside of the building on that walking path into the other, but they're never on the sidewalk.
Right.
So are you putting up any type of lines so people aren't standing on the sidewalk?
Right,
during-
I'm more than happy to do
Okay.
anything that I need to, whether that is a rope or whether that is just outlines. I've seen restaurants in multiple places throughout the state where they actually
Define it.
define lines.
Okay.
And I know, when I'm chatting with our OLCC representative, she will most likely be asking those questions and I will take whatever her guidance is.
That's what I'm happy.
I just want to point out our role, and this is somewhat procedural, we're just, and whether or not we approve it, it can still go to OLCC for their approval, and if Mr. Nance fails to conform with OLCC guidelines, they'll pull his permit and his business will take a hit. So, I just want to point out that it's not really our responsibility or role to dictate how, Mr. Nance runs the business and, whether or not they have alcohol monitors, I mean, it's really between him and OLCC.
Reminder.
Well, I beg
Councilmember Miller?
to differ a little bit. It is our responsibility, the safety of the citizens. And it's our duty, and serving alcohol out in an open area where there's a lot of traffic. That has to be taken into consideration, especially with a lot of young people that go into that business because it is an arcade style.
I do want to make one comment. I've had the pleasure of doing fundraisers at Buddy's. And it was different because there wasn't the outside venue, but you handled it really well, raised a lot of money for search and rescue. The school did a fundraiser again down the review for that, and he has handled it with the utmost, sensitivity with kids and beverages at the same time.
Thank you.
So, Councilmember Keller?
I got a question about the food items. The OLCC packet, I believe, requires that you have 3. Can you expand on the offerings that you have and address Mr. Miller's concerns that they are snack items and not food?
Oh, sure. There's plenty of places, the restaurants in the area where, well, I guess there's 2 elements to this. One, with OLCC specifically with my particular license, which is a limited license. Since I'm not serving alcohol, I just have to have a couple of light snacks. If I was to be serving alcohol, then I would actually need, real meals at lunchtime as well as for dinner. What I do serve at the arcade is wings, corn dogs and tots. I also have some pigs in a blanket, and I have a couple of other items in addition to all the snacks that we have there. So there's plenty of food options for people to have, and in many places, corn dogs and tots is considered a real meal. So it's not just a small light snack.
So you have hot food.
Yes, absolutely.
And I,
Councilmember, hang on, Councilmember Baker.
and I'm gonna, say for clarification, when you said, since I'm not serving alcohol, I presume you meant liquor.
Liquor, yes.
And
I
not,
apologize.
because it's beer and wine.
Yeah.
And I know that I have eaten dinner at your place more than once of the items that you offer. And so I appreciate that, and I have also been to many events where I feel that you and your staff are watching the clientele carefully, and so I personally think that I would love to say, if I knew that you were having ropes and lines to contain people in, as I see at Thunder Island and at events. And And I would appreciate if this city had a written approval from or yay from your tenants and your neighbor. That would make me happy, and then I would be comfortable with this, knowing that you had an alcohol monitor out there. Obviously, I'm very in support of adopt a dog. Jackie was adopted as well, and I understand that it's a tiny place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it would be nice to have that outdoor area. So those are my wishes, that if I were to move to approve that, you know, based on you would have some sort of flagging or ropes and submit also a written support from the other building tenants.
Councilmember Miller, you had an additional question?
No. I believe your question was, do I have hot food?
No, I said, how is it prepared?
I was prepared. I have a microwave for popcorn and hot pockets. If you were ever interested, you can please come by and grab some. And then for the things like the wings and for the corn dogs and potato tots and for the pigs in the blanket and for my taquitos, which are also very good. I have an air fryer, and that all of it has been approved by the health inspector.
Councilmember Happy?
When you're holding a special event and your operating area is expanding, does that require a modification or change with your insurance? And is that something that you have already obtained?
With the insurance, my insurance covers my license. So this particular contract is an extension of that license.
Got it. So you've checked with them and you don't have to do any sort of
Insurance has never asked me for an extension for that particular thing, and the OLCC application has not required it as well.
Any other discussion? Should have discussion after this, but
I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Alright.
Good.
appreciate it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Now we'll need to move that. Yes, approve it.
we had a motion and it's been seconded. We just had discussion. We're just ready for roll call vote if there's more.
Alright. Any other discussion?
Did we move? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. It's been a long day. So hearing there is no other discussion, let's move to roll call vote.
Councilmember Ellen Baker, aye. Happy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
No.
Mayor Fallon.
Aye. It passes. Okay. Let's go on to number 4, appearance of interested citizens. Let's see, this is Tiffany Pruitt. Going in order of way I received them.
Tiffany Pruitt, City of Cascade Locks. Now, at every council meeting, this council thanks the city staff for their hard work. The hard work that you get paid for. I wonder if you could maybe start thanking the citizens and businesses of Cascade Locks that pay for it. You know, the citizens that you're supposed to be working for. It seems that you forget you work for us, we voted you into office. Not that I have anything against the staff, but how about you start working for us? You keep trying to take things away from the citizens to stop, quote, spending money. Then you turn right around and give the savings away. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You've taken away the spring and fall roadside cleanup, attempted to take away the burn pile drop off. But instead curbed it back. Whatever savings you may have made, you've spent it right away. And I have never seen a negotiated contract be upped at the time of approval. You negotiated the city administrator contract for $96,000, then you upped it to $10,000, giving an unheard of $10,000 raise for a second-year employee at his first city administrator job. But he is still working. And lest you forget, you're always talking about increasing the wages We have 13 employees and we pay $585,000 in benefits, of which the city pays anywhere from 90 to 100% of. So we have an excellent benefit package that makes up for the wages, some of the wages that we pay. So, and I appreciate if you consider that in the future when we're negotiating contracts again. Any credibility you had for trying to save the city money, you just threw out the window, and any credibility you wanted for working for the citizens, you keep destroying. So I just would prefer that, I would appreciate if you would just really start thinking about the citizens. You work for us. You don't work for the city staff. It's really getting very frustrating watching what's going on. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next up. Mr. Cody Steelman.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going
I'm
on.
gonna be real short on this one. We did a thing where you gave 5,000 to, management to, in case things came up, you're limited to 1 year under that, under the floating indebtedness laws. If you don't know what floating indebtedness is, you should look it up. And I get the law to you, I got other stuff, more stuff to report, but I just wanted to bring that up tonight. You can have it up to 5,000, but it's limited to over a whole year period of time under the law.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Tonight, right. We're going in order here.
Hello, my name is Shannon Mueller. I've been a resident of Cascade Locks for going on 3 years now. There's been a few incidents lately that I would like to bring to everyone's attention. It regards people and the safety on Wanapa. The first incident was yesterday. The first incident was actually last Tuesday, and as I was coming in from Hood River off our exit, obviously you're not supposed to come in going 65, 70 miles an hour, so I slowed down to the appropriate speed. And I had a small white car behind me, swerve up beside my driver's side, flip me off, honk his horn really loud, and proceed to curse obscenities at me. He proceeded to move forward, cut me off, and slam on his brake in front of my car with me and my daughter in it, who's 5 years old. I slammed on my brake as hard as I could to stop from hitting him. And that was just a small incident from a driver who was on his way through our town, going to the bridge to go across to Stevenson. I called the Hood River County Sheriff's Department and made a report about that vehicle. And so that was just, I felt really unsafe in our town. I didn't know what he was gonna do. I was like, obviously, you have to slow down. Like, you cannot come through Cascade Lock on our main street going that fast. There is children everywhere and pedestrians constantly. And as summer proceeds, it's only gonna get more and more people and busier. If there had been police presence, that person would have definitely been pulled over. The second incident was yesterday, as my daughter and I were trying to cross the crosswalk over by Thunder Island. A van proceeded to slow down for us. I actually have video footage of the truck. But the van stopped. Me and my daughter were standing right here. The van stopped to slow down, but the truck behind her decided not to. So he pulled out, honked his horn really loud at her, revved past and pulled into the lane, and then proceeded to drive through town. My daughter and I had already stepped into traffic or stepped into the road after the lady had stopped, and then I saw this vehicle, so I grabbed my daughter's hand, I pulled back onto the sidewalk and watched this guy fly past going 60 miles an hour. I can't even cross at a crosswalk when it's safe in my community. And I know it's not an issue for everybody, but for the people who live downtown, we walk everywhere all the time. And as summer continues to get more into summer, I feel like it only gets worse and worse the deeper we get into summertime. Excuse me, I think if I had continued to walk yesterday, my daughter and I might have gotten hit by that truck. This is also not including the unlicensed or uninsured Stevenson driver who hit my car last month. So that's also a frustrating thing. A lot of these drivers seem to be going just right off the highway, speeding through town and right off onto the bridge. I feel like it's only gonna get worse. I would love, I don't know if this is the right place, but I would love to request a stop sign. And I have spoken today and several times this week to the Hood River County police officers. I've been in contact with Deputy Virgin, who is supposedly supposed to be the officer that patrols Cascade Locks. I heard he makes a hefty wage, watching out for our city, and I've yet to see his face. So I feel like we somehow have to come up with an idea to slow down traffic through town. We cannot, people are just driving right through, not stopping. There's not a single stop sign for anyone to have to slow down for. So what is why would they? You know, why would they slow if they don't have to? And with the lack of police presence, I feel like it's being known more and more. And it's getting worse. And I don't know if anyone walks or does often. I know you see, I see you often on the roads. But I really fear that someone's gonna get hurt this summer. Pardon me. And again, with the amount of children and pedestrians in town, I feel like it's a concern and it should be a concern for everybody. And then after I spoke, I actually just got a call when I was coming in today from the police department, so I'll call them back when I step out. But I also contacted ODOT this morning, the maintenance in Cascade Locks to try and request a stop sign as well. So they told me that I could go ahead and get online and request one through them, and that someone from ODOT would contact me. That's just what I'm trying to do as a citizen. I don't know if there's anything that we can all do together as a community to make it safer. But with tourist season coming up, I really fear for someone's life on Wampauck. And it's not something that is just quickly happened. It's not like, oh, this is just my week. This happened 2 times to me this week. And I know that if you spoke to a lot of other people in our community, they have other stories as well. About people coming off that exit going 70 miles an hour into our town and not slowing down. And just
Can you hang on one second?
I'm sorry.
Can I remind the audience to keep conversation? Mrs. Broy, if you have conversations, let's take it outside, but when someone's talking, we need their full attention. Okay, I appreciate it. All right, I'm sorry, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, that was, that's basically it. I wanna see our town become safer on Wampauck. I would love to see a stop sign put somewhere, just to encourage people that at least one point on their way through town, you have to stop and slow down. Like you have to, there's nothing to do, there's a stop sign there. You know, I even thought maybe, when I talked to Deputy Virgin, I was gonna suggest maybe he could come out a little more often in the next couple of weeks before 4th of July and maybe do a speed trap at the end of town or a crosswalk sting to make sure that people are actually stopping for pedestrians. Because it's a little scary when you're on foot and the cars are taking over. And I just feel like it's getting worse in our town. I just wanted to voice my concerns with everyone today and see if we can do something as a community to make it a safer road. Okay. Thank you. Very kind.
Excuse me,
This.
did the police officer tell you that you can issue that guy a ticket yourself?
No, I wasn't told that.
In Oregon, there's a statute that if you get the license plate and you can identify the driver, you can go to the county police or county office and you can file your own ticket against them.
Okay, well, I've called each incident into the non-emergency line at the sheriff's office to let them know. I had the license plate of the person on Tuesday who did that. I unfortunately didn't catch the one from yesterday, but I do have video camera of it. So I'm gonna go through that when I get home and try to report that as well, because it's just, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So 4. And public hearing?
No public hearings.
Okay, action items. 6A, fill council vacancy, and we have 2 individuals. 1. 2. I have a 6B and a 6B in these 2, and I have 1 for 6A.
Oh, speakers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, all right. Mr. Silva?
Yeah, I'm concerned about the one council that applied, Andy Bernard Seeger. That's from this past, the way he got released here. To be honest, you're creating problems for yourself, from what I hear out there. Me, I'm kind of on the fence because I've been watching in council in the charter review committee. So, but there's others in town that ain't gonna let it go. And plus he's going to college, and so I'm against it there because I know how much time college takes up in your life. And we need people that can dedicate themselves to the position. And I see that Courtney did a very good job, too, on the charter committee. Even though I would have liked to have been a part of it, but, so, as you probably have already heard. I'm more dangerous to you on the outside than the inside, so if you want something fixed, fix it yourself. So, and that's what I'm doing. Let's get started. So, thank you much.
Councilmember Kelly.
I would like to acknowledge a point of order that that was a threat that was made to council.
What kind of a threat? That I'm gonna change things? Yes, I am.
You're noted, and it is a threat.
It's not,
Well, no.
that's not a threat. That's publicly
Mr.
speaking.
Stillman, you've had your time and you've stepped away from the desk, so there's no more
Fine.
comments.
I'll deal with it online.
It's fine. Okay. And that was it for 6A, so now, fill council vacancy.
So at the last council meeting, council decided to open the vacant spot for applications. Requesting completing the application as well as a letter of interest, with the deadline being close of business on Wednesday, the 19th. Yes, we have received two by then. We did an amendment to the agenda packet as they'd already been put out by them. We had received an application letter from Bernard Seeger and Courtney Heilman. All right, got it right. As noted by Mr. Steelman, they both currently serve on the Charter Review Committee. And Mr. Seeger is on the budget.
Councilmember Baker?
As a point of order, I move that we discuss both of the candidates. And then. So I suppose, and then make a second motion. Somebody can make a second motion for who they might want, but I move that we have discussion prior to moving for one or the other. Is that
Councilmember Happy?
I thought a motion was just an opportunity for discussion. We had this,
It is.
right? So we could make a motion and then we could have discussion on both candidates at that time, but I think that's what that.
Councilmember Miller?
I would like to point out that, one of the persons here has selected both tourism and council. So, and that person is not here. So you can only go for one.
They both did.
Huh?
They both checked the wrong.
They both did, I think.
They both checked the wrong books.
Formatting error on the,
Okay,
Yeah,
on the form, so I noticed that and I'll correct it.
so which is which?
they both candidates wrote in city council.
There should be two more boxes further left of the tourism options that didn't get transposed over. So you have a box followed by the option that you're choosing. And that's what I saw when I had filled that out.
Yeah.
The box to the left, what you're selecting, the title of it to the right. And so those two left-hand boxes didn't get put
Yeah,
on.
printed.
Yeah.
They've both written in city council. Okay,
I move to appoint Bernard Seeger to fill the vacancy on city council.
my second?
discussion.
Yeah.
You guys both, you raised your hand at the same time, both of you. Council.
Okay.
Councilmember Happy.
I first wanted to say, we've got two extremely, great candidates, and Ms. Heilman's been very involved with the charter review. She's been coming to all of the city council meetings for, I don't even know how long, but she's been very much a part of what we're doing. Part of when we talked about filling this vacancy, we said our ideal candidate would be already aware of the vacancy and they'd be plugged in and ready to fill out this application, and that is very apparent with both people. The reason why I am moving to approve Bernard Seeger to fill the vacancy on city council is because our number one needs is what became very apparent during our budget review this last time, was we need to get our city finances under control and straightened out. And Bernard's background really gets to that. In fact, I would say that there was a lot of discussion and involvement by everybody on budget review, but it had not been for Mr. Seeger's contributions and suggestions and creative problem solving. And I don't think we would have found a way to fund the police, and I already have a way for a budget that was balanced. So we want people on council that are solution focused, that can speak without, I guess, staying focused on the issues and not get, and I'm really looking at the needs of the city, and not their personal biases. So not suggesting that Ms. Kyleman is not able to do that. I'm just saying that that's really what we're looking for. And I see Mr. Seeger exemplifying that. So that's why I moved to have him vote.
Councilmember Miller?
Yeah, Bernard's a great guy. He's got the smarts and everything. He definitely has the background, but he is going into OS2 in September. So maybe the last few months of this year, we're going to be without him. Or he said he possibly might be on Zoom. So I think we really need a full-time commitment and not a meeting. So I would have to vote no on this one.
Councilmember Baker?
I think it's great. We have two fabulous candidates, two people that I've heard them speak up. Caring about the community, even with dissenting opinions sometimes, and I really appreciate that. And I ditto what I heard from Councilman Happy about Bernard Seeger's comments and detailed looking at our budget, and he was there at every budget committee meeting, and I believe he will, even as he's going to school, he's always been in school since I've known him, and working and dedicated, and started the Cascade Locks Cleanup Committee, which has been very successful. He's got many people on board. Cares about this town. I know they both, I believe that they both do. So it's a hard decision. And at this time with the financial difficulties we're having, I think Bernard would be great in this interim position. And I'm not at all nervous about his dedication or ability to be here by Zoom. It is unfortunate that tonight he's in Canada. I don't know if folks know, he was in recently Washington DC, speaking with legislators about climate change. And that was, it's, public knowledge on Facebook, but he's not afraid to speak up. We all heard that in our budget meetings, and I really respect his ability to discuss our complex budget. And I also respect Tony's ability with the charter review. It's a hard decision, but I'm voting for Bernard.
Councilmember Happy?
Just a point of clarification to address Mr. Miller's concerns. He says he is starting school at OSU September 25th, but hope to arrange classes that avoid a Monday requirement. So I think his intention is to try to be here in person if he can. He goes on to say if that's not an optional, I will attend via a Zoom format. So he will be here in attendance, whether it's either in person or via Zoom. It's not halftime showing up. He understands the commitment. He's planning on being here. And then point 4 here, I bring 18 years of local government work experience, includes 3 cities and 1 county. This work includes general management oversight and 8 years specifically as the finance and management service director. I mean, how fortunate are we when our real needs right now are to get our enterprise funds sorted out, and making sure that our general fund has actually got adequate funding to support the needs of our city, including policing. And we have an applicant that has not only, 18 years of local government experience, but also been living in this city for 17 years, so that's all I have to say.
Councilmember Kelly?
I too am incredibly torn between these two candidates. Secondly, I'm concerned about us making a decision based on attending a university. I'm concerned about the legalities of that and like how are we supposed to make a decision based on that versus another candidate's work schedule or another candidate's business ownership schedule? Like, how can we take that into consideration ethically?
Councilmember Happy?
I think what I heard Mr. Miller concerned about was that he wasn't gonna be able to make it for the meetings. I don't think it was about specifically that he's a student or.
I hear that. My concern is, why are we even questioning? I don't feel like we should be able to question that as an instance.
To reiterate, or the council member Happy, and also your comment on both of them are very qualified candidates. We're very fortunate to have both these, and both of them have spent time and working on the committee, Bernard on his committees, where it was a toss up for me as well. But a lot of the stuff that Bernard brought up in budget meeting, he said, this is not a once a year get to budget and then you try and fix everything. He's very, very knowledgeable, invested in the city when it comes to finances. So my vote would be towards Bernard. And I'd like to, so next year for the budget, hopefully it goes, we don't have so many things go on. So we'll be a little bit better prepared if we start doing it now, doing the work now, and going all the way through next year. Councilmember Happy.
I guess the last thing I wanted to bring up was, I feel like sometimes on council we get, I guess, involved in things that we really shouldn't be involved in. Our role is supposed to be to set policy. And I feel like that's something that maybe if we have somebody on council that's been on the other side of it, they can help us stay on track. And we thank our city staff for all that they do to, help us be successful and make our jobs easy. But when we overstep our, I guess what our focus should be and start getting into operational decisions, we're not really supporting them. And so having somebody on council that can speak to that, about how we can better support city staff and be more effective at executing and implementing policy, I think is hugely valuable.
Okay, any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded for Bernard. So can we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Emmeline Baker.
Aye.
Happy.
No.
Miller.
Oh,
Mayor Fallon.
Aye.
3-2.
3-2. Does not pass.
I'd like to make a motion. I nominate or like to move that we select Courtney Thielman to be the council, next council.
I'll second the motion for Tyler.
Any discussion?
If, I'm hoping that if this action item doesn't pass tonight, obviously we'll bring it up at our next meeting. So,
Okay. Roll call vote?
Councilmember Emmeline Baker.
no,
Happy.
No.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Mayor Fallon.
No. Does not pass. So this will need to be brought up at the next council meeting. So hopefully we'll have a full council.
Would council like to reopen applications?
I don't see why that would hurt.
Yeah, I don't think that would be fine. Do we need to make a motion for that?
No,
And do,
just be consensus.
what would be the deadline?
Probably the same Wednesday before, close of business Wednesday,
So the third?
yes, Wednesday, July.
Will that allow you time to get that?
That would be Tuesday.
Yeah, it'll be Tuesday, the second, close of business.
And will our current applicants have to reapply or theirs may work?
No, I can help you, but I would suggest no, these would still be on the line.
Okay. All right. We're on to 6B.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Gavin.
All right, cut down my notes.
That's all right. Read that first, then then there's two comments.
Okay, approval of resolution 1506, setting internal payments at a rate of 6% for the enterprise funds to be paid to the general fund. Research in the past concluded that internal payments have been paid for over 25 years, but there's never a resolution establishing them. Established payment until June 2010. At the time, the rate was set at 5%. City councils determined that the increase is warranted. Resolution 1506 increases it from 5% to 6%. Council options are to change it to 6, change the rate to something else, or do nothing. In the packet is the resolution, along with the previous resolutions, setting the rate at 5%, and then the math I presented at the previous council meeting with the 4% increases from 5 to 7%.
Okay, we have two individuals for 6B. Tiffany Pruitt.
Cascade Locks. And you all know how I feel about this. Winston Churchill asked, can people tax themselves into prosperity? Also asking, can a man stand in a bucket and lift himself up by the handle? We're taxing ourselves to pay ourselves. The citizens are the owners of the property, citizens are the owners of the utility companies. You are taxing them. It is a franchise, everybody knows it's a franchise fee or a right-of-way fee. We called it an internal payments because it was 2010, 2 years after the no new fees and taxes thing was put into place. It's been an illegal thing since that point, and now you're just going to ask to further it. Taxing the people more for more money, because now you're gonna have to come up with $50,000 more. I mean, you're talking about how you want somebody in here who's financially has more financial knowledge to be able to help with the process, but here you are gonna put us at another disadvantage again by taking $50,000 plus from your elected department. And we're gonna have to figure out where that's gonna come from in the budget, because it wasn't there when we just went through it several weeks ago, a few weeks ago. So, I'm gonna say, don't do it, but that's not gonna make any difference. Thank you.
Cody?
You bet.
Mr. Stanley?
This is why I'm here.
Yeah.
First of all,
Cody, Mr. Stanley, can I ask you to have a seat and state?
I can't sit, I'm
Okay.
disabled, and I have
Okay, all
all I have, so every time I get up.
right,
sit.
no worries, you stand then, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm not sitting for you.
Okay,
You have resolution 1506, but there's also resolution 1194. This doesn't say it's repealing 1194. For one, then you're charging for the right of way. And there's something the judges use to see if a law conflicts with state law. Because you're only allowed general flexibility in the law, and it's called intramural and extramural authority. That means within your jurisdictional boundaries and outside your jurisdictional boundaries. I have a ton of cases on this, I'm gonna leave you So you can see what the courts use to test this stuff. But how are you charging anyone out of the city this 5% fee to use what? Their public right of way? You can't do that. That's fraud. For one, period. Then the fact is, like Tiffany mentioned, it was Bernard Seeger who brought this illegal thing to us way back then. He's the one that divided this whole town. So, but go ahead and appoint him, because we still have the power to take you out of office anyway. Anyway, yes, you have the power to control your local affairs, including the right of way, which is not just the right of way tax, because it is a tax. It is specifically a privilege tax on the municipal right of way. A privilege tax on distribution utilities, for one, you can do it to public utility, but we're not a public utility. We're a consumer-owned utility or a municipal utility. If you look it up in the dictionary of the ORS, a municipal utility is a consumer-owned utility. Then you get to this, except a municipal utility. That means you can charge these public and these private utilities that provide stuff in your town, this privilege tax. The privilege tax is also a franchise fee, but it's the same thing. It's a privilege to use something. Except you don't give a franchise fee to the city, because you have to, with that, you gotta give your city trade name. They can use the trade name and all that good stuff along with it. That's why the state took it out of utility, and it's all goes a privilege tax now. Also, if you get federal power, you cannot charge, period, to whoever. If the power is being transmitted to the federal, you can't do it. I'll go leave this stuff for you. So you can read it all yourself. This whole thing is illegal. Privilege tax. Then you have the municipal regulations of the utility. We're not a public utility. And I'll leave you this information to you. Municipal water work, what are you supposed to do? We got these 2 fees on our water, on our utility. By the law, it's supposed to be put against the property owners in a ballot measure. Then you get to the electrical fee. I'm not saying you can't charge a privilege tax to the city citizens for water, sewer, or wastewater. Because I haven't found that in the law, and when I talked to the League of Oregon Cities, they said yes, but they agree with me on the electrical when I talked to them. You can't do it because of the laws here. Because you also got the rate compliance laws here. You're the council, you're in charge of that by the charter. Rate set in accordance to the annual expenses. That means the cost to provide the service, not for profit. Because application of earnings revenue shall not be used for other municipal purposes, period. I can go on and on and on here. And there's more than this. Then we get the federal law, which I haven't even touched on here. Because once you get to the federal law, then it gets really hairy for you. Then the feds come in and throw you in jail. Now, then I also look at this, at all the money you're taking here, and we're millions of dollars in debt because you've used these utilities for a piggy bank all these years. That is mismanagement in the max. Period. Now our reserve is low on our electrical. We got to build it up after all these years of stealing all this money from the people. Charge up a tax for our own utility to use our own right of way, like Tiffany said. It's bull crap. But like I said, it is what it is. I'll leave you all these rules and laws to go over. I wouldn't do it if I was you, because I'm going to be on this time. That ain't no threat, that's a promise. Thank you. Last threat, you know, but you'll know why it is on the file. What will today? Right here, City Hall.
All right, Mr. Spellman,
I'm done.
you're done. All right, thank you.
If I'm afraid you know,
You're done.
you take that shit from me.
Hang on. Okay, that's the first time. We're taking a 5-minute recess because I'm not gonna tolerate this.
I'm done.
If I can ask the audience to do, we're taking a 5-minute recess right now.
I'm done.
No, good, done. I'm gonna ask the audience to step.
Carolyn, it's a hot air water bottle, and no. We don't have to get it on, get back to that.
Have you heard from Sean?
I never heard.
No,
of this
I
song.
texted him, but I didn't hear back.
You find the beer in there when you're gone.
Don't give away my ticket, Butch.
That'll be your last meeting, but.
Okay, are we recording?
Yes, we are recording.
Okay, let's go back to 6B, approve resolution 1506. Is there a motion to approve 1506?
I move to approve resolution 1506.
Is there a second?
And second,
Discussion?
I assume our attorney has taken a look at this and is given an okay.
I ran it through, or, city recorder loosely put it together for me, so I actually don't. But I can have the attorney double check. But she usually does run them by the attorney, but I don't know specifically if she did, so I can double check.
I propose with the interest of time that with not having reviewed by our attorney that we table this till our next council meeting. Is there any reason why we can't do that? As part of
Oh,
Yeah, and I rescind my second, and prefer that the attorney goes at this.
So would it be consensus to have this run by the attorney and then have it on the next agenda, next council meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would that be? Okay. We're gonna move 6B to the next council meeting. Thank you. Okay, now we're on 6C, approve resolution 1507.
All right, approved resolution 1507 EMS fee increase ordinance put to a vote of residents. The current EMS fee assessed on utility bills is set to expire on December 31st, 2024. At the June 10th council work session, council came to consensus to put an increase of the EMS fee to a vote of the residents. Resolution 1507 with the ordinance that will go to a vote is the formal steps council must take to put the increase to a vote. Resolution 1507 will put ordinance number 459 to a vote of the residents on November 5th, 2024. If the ordinance passes the vote, council will then need to pass a second resolution enacting the rates. Attached for review are the resolution, the ordinance going to a vote, and a spreadsheet detailing the fee changes. So the resolution ordinance has been reviewed by City Attorney Cleveland.
Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution 1507?
I move to approve resolution 1507.
Okay, is there a second?
One second.
Okay, discussion?
I felt like we discussed this quite a bit in budget committee as well. And it has been. It is set to expire in December 2024, so it's important that something is done. And again, like many of our financial revenue, it is very outdated, so that's why I voted. I thought we had a good discussion. But
Any other discussion? Hearing there's none, move the roll call vote.
Councilmember Emmeline Baker,
I,
Appy,
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mayor Fallon.
Yep, the resolution 1507 passes.
I will now work with City Attorney Ruben Cleveland to put the paperwork together to get it on the ballot for November 5th.
Okay. 6E, committee appointments, tourism and architectural review.
Okay, just for a review of council, below is a list of the number of seats on each committee and the number of vacancies on each committee. So tourism is 7 seats. There are 2 vacancies, which I think Janice is now up to 3. Karen Wolf will be stepping down from the tourism committee end of June. So will be, I guess, still 2. If this person is approved. Budget, there are 14 seats and 1 vacancy. Architectural review, 3 seats and 1 vacancy. The mayor has received and moved forward for appointment of one application for the Architectural Review Committee and one for Tourism Committee. Architectural Review is Matthew Lessinger. This is a typo, shouldn't say budget, say tourism is Miranda Aldrich. Aldrich. Miranda is also a paramedic for the city. So city council options are to appoint all individual or no applicants to committees. There should not be any conflict of interest with having Miranda on the tourism committee. If there is some kind of weird scenario where there is, you just need to recuse yourself from any. There should not be any conflict of interest.
I move to appoint Miranda Atradish to the tourism committee. Or is it budget to, I'm sorry.
Tourism, sorry, that was a typo.
Sorry,
Do you want to do both of them or just one at a time?
I want to do one,
Okay,
tourism committee.
Second.
discussion? Okay, roll call vote on Miranda.
Councilmember Emmeline Baker. Aye. Kathy.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Mayor Dowling.
Aye. She passes. Is there a motion for Matthew? Architectural review?
To appoint. Application, Matthew Leisinger to the Architectural Review Committee.
I second.
Discussion?
I like the special skills as a land surveyor and in the industry with civil engineering for almost 20 years. And a licensed surveyor. It sounds like a good addition to our architectural thinking.
Any other?
I just want to make sure everybody understands what the architectural review committee is. It has not met since I've been here, and I actually don't know the last time it met, but essentially it reviews any, if I understand, any major changes in the downtown corridor to make sure it meets the downtown plan. So when Thunder Island was built and Gorgeous Brewing was built, they reviewed those applications to ensure they met the standards.
Gorgeous has their own color paint.
But that's a whole different discussion, but.
That was Gordon's computer.
That's a whole different.
He saw blue and it came out purple, so it was his computer. All right, any other discussion for Mr. Messenger? Okay, roll call vote.
Councilmember Emmeline Baker. Aye. Kathy.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Mayor Dowling.
Aye. He passes. He won there. Okay, here we go. So now we're in
Yeah.
museum.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janice Queen. I'm the director of the Cascade Historical Museum. And I am coming today to do our annual request to the community fund. I understand that that's going away next year, and I also understand the financial situation that the city is in. But because we have requested this in the past kind of support, and it is in our budget, I'm here today to do this request. I know that when programs and services when they lose their funding from government agencies, it can be difficult for them to ever come back. So I just wanted to make sure that I got in here today and had a chat with you about the community fund. I'll still here for a couple more days.
Couple more days. Couple more days.
Point clarification to the city administrator, what's in our budget right now for?
4,700. And like $3. I don't remember the exact number, it's just over 4,700.
It's up to council.
Do we discuss, wait, a motion first, or discuss?
The motion has to be first. Motion second, then discuss. Here's a thought, so food for thought, here, everyone's in deep thought on this one. So it sounds like to cut through everything, there is no funds for next year. None. Right now, there is. We have $4,700 left in the account, basically, for the community fund. Jordan, can you speak to what happens where does the money go if it's not spent this year? Just so everyone has a full understanding.
Well, it's essentially wiped away. I mean, assuming we get the revenue we're projected and all the other expenditures are what they expected, the unused money goes into the beginning fund balance, which has already been reappropriated mainly to pay for bond. So it just kind of disappears into another line. But it doesn't, yeah, it absorbs into another line, it does not roll over. In that specific line.
And to further discussion, can I move that we give 2,000 to the general operating support of Cascade Locks Historical Museum?
And then the rest be absorbed or the rest be allocated to other
The
501c3s?
rest is still here until July, isn't it?
Yes. This would be
June
your,
30th.
this
Wait,
and unless you hold a special meeting, this is your last chance.
This is it.
Can I rescind my motion?
So it's awarded all for not the 5,000, we don't have 5,000. Oh, so the choices are basically award the 4,700 to the museum. Or you could possibly allocate that to, take the 4,700, split it up between museum, PTO, canoe club, if they're doing, I know they're doing a free, paddle group thing this summer for kids. In the past, historically, they've always said, buy this and bring us a receipt. So this is something that we don't have a receipt for. They're all reputable business, museums are very reputable, so is the PTO, so is, the canoe club. So it's up to council how you would like to allocate those funds. If you don't want to give any funds and just have it absorbed, or if you want to give it all to the museum or allocate it in different
Are we,
groups.
but other groups have not asked right now at this moment.
For not this moment, but I do know the PTO is, they have several needs. I've talked to several members of PTO. If they didn't ask for anything this year for the casino night, I know that. But their needs are very long. And I know the canoe club is planning on doing a free summer camp for kids as well this year. So that they didn't do a formal ask.
Is it possible to ask for documentation of how the funds were spent?
Or if
For
they're,
the museum?
you can ask.
Well, I'm asking procedurally, I mean, that, you said that's historically how it's been done,
Historically.
so it's just
been
with
done.
follow history.
Mhm.
It seems to me that the museum has certain ideas on how to spend the money, that's going to cause a receipt to get created.
I know, was it last year or the last time you got 2,500, was it last year?
Yes.
And then I don't think you had to provide receipts for every one of
We
that.
never had to provide receipts. That form was created after that event.
Okay.
So that's.
We have a motion?
I don't know, I
No,
rescinded it.
not yet.
I rescinded it because it,
You have choices.
okay. I'm thinking of something else. Because we took it out of next year's budget, didn't we?
No, this is this year's budget.
But
There
we
is
do
no,
not have any in the next year's. budget.
correct. There's no funds for anything for community for next year. It's completely gone.
Are we able to ask questions before we make a motion?
I think council, we're trying to figure out
I
Well,
think we just
I-
need a motion. and then-
I-
Need a motion.
Yeah.
Need a motion, second, then we'll discuss it more.
I move that we move this 4,700 to, in community funds to be allocated to community funds for next year's budget, since we don't have any and we don't have any other applicants right now, so that we can more clearly figure out what to do with this 47.
Jordan, can you talk about
Can we not
how
do
we
it?
can't,
No,
we can't do that.
It just gets reabsorbed.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Okay.
It's a good question.
I motion to approve $4,500 for the museum out of the appropriate fund.
4,500 or 47?
4,500.
4,500.
I like you.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. Councilmember Happy.
I have a hard time voting to approve this when our general fund is already really struggling. And the reason why we took the funds away from the communities, what is it, the community support fund, just that we didn't have the money to give to it, that $4,700 and change. Can you answer, was that anticipated in the budget that would be rolled into it, or did you, when you're writing the budget, anticipate that it was gonna be, used?
I anticipate it would be expected.
That would be spent.
Correct. Yeah.
So the budget we have has taken into account that there wouldn't be this $4,700, so if we do not spend that $4,700, that would be an extra $4,700 that would go into the general fund.
Correct, yes.
So with the status of the city and where we're at, I think that the community support fund is important, but I just think that it's irresponsible to spend the money right now. Yeah, I hear your point, is like, once these things go away, it's hard to get them back, but I don't think that that's really our intention. I think that was really a temporary Band-Aid to get through this budget cycle. I don't see that as a viable long-term solution, and I think that we need to have this fund and it needs to be funded. But more importantly, we need to have a city that functions and operates and is fiscally solvent. So that's where I stand.
Councilmember Baker.
I respect that the museum is one of our few cultural assets that is, well-staffed and well-run and advertised well. So I respect Janice Crane's time for putting this together, coming in. And I still agree with Councilman Happy that it seems that it might be wise to roll some of this over. So it is my opinion that we could give some amount, and I'm not sure what that amount would be, out of that 4,700 and roll the rest back into our general budget. But I defer to my colleagues if there was an amount that they thought would be appropriate.
Okay, any other discussion?
Sorry. I don't see somebody up here other than the Cascade Box Historical Museum asking for this money this year. I hear what you're saying. We didn't budget. We didn't anticipate this to get rolled over. We've made substantial increases to more than cover through the 6% fees. Or, sorry, the general maintenance fee, as it has been addressed to us. This is an opportunity to support members of our community, something that benefits our community. It brings in aspects and brings in dollars into our community. I feel like this is a money well spent.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing there's none, let's go to, oh, sorry, go ahead, Councilmember Happy.
And I think it is important to touch on the fact that when we were writing the budget, we made other cuts with the anticipation that we were going to approve that. And that may not be as clear as what we originally thought due to some of the discussion we had this evening, and we're sending that to the attorney. I think it's irresponsible for us to spend $4,700 that we just don't have. But you bring up the internal payments, I think it's good to note that that is not as clean as we thought it was going to be, and we need to have, and we don't know where that's going to land.
Okay. Any other discussion? Councilman Miller, got an opinion?
Yeah, I'd love to give the money to the museum, but like Pete says, and we're between a rock and a hard place now. And there's really no extra money, and even rolling over $4,700 into the general fund is just a drop.
You're happy?
Sorry, but I think that this highlights just how dire our financial situation is, right? Because I think we all recognize the value of our community support fund and the fact that we're like not willing to spend money that we have set aside. And rolling that into the general fund just highlights the issue of our fiscal situation. So it's thought we can point that out.
I don't feel like that's the intention of this fund, is to roll it into the general fund. The intention is to improve the community. I don't see anybody in front of us asking for that money to improve our community here. Like, I hear you. It's. If I knew where that $4,700 was gonna go, I could probably understand, but I know where this $4,500 is gonna go. It's gonna go to something that's gonna benefit the community. It might go to tires, it might go to something that we don't know, but I know where it's going.
Any other discussion?
Can I make one more point of clarification? I'd just like to remind the council that you own the museum collection, and us taking care of it for you is a service that we provide to the city. If that is something that it doesn't seem everyone is always aware of, because we're a nonprofit that takes care of the collection, but the city owns it. This is either your belongings or your assets.
I have a motion again,
$4,500 to the museum.
and it's been seconded, I know we've had discussion. Okay. Now, roll call vote.
Councilmember Emmeline Baker,
No.
Happy,
No.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
No,
Maribel.
Aye. It does not pass, so.
I would like to move to,
Will not pass for the 4,500.
right, I would like to move to, allocate.
Make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to allocate, 2,500, we gave, point of clarification, we gave that last year. $2,500 to the Cascade Locks Historical Museum.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on the 2,500?
It has, I was reminded, thank you, Janice Crane, that maintaining what we own is important. I see it all over the city, that maintenance of what we already own is important, and this collection is of value. And so I do see that this is part of our fiduciary responsibility to maintain that, and part of what they do is maintain that collection. And the fact that Janice Crane wrote a book that is a part of our history museum, and this collection is very cultural, and I think embracing the cultural, and continuing to improve on our cultural presence in town is important, and I don't want to ask them as a nonprofit to take care of our collection without also donating some money, so 2,500 sounds good to me.
Okay, there's been a motion. Councilman Keller, or thank you, Tiffany. Yeah. Hey, any other discussion on that? Councilmember Happy.
I just want to say that I have utmost respect for Chris Green, and I think that if we don't get you the $2,500, you will find it. Like, you're not gonna let this get in the way of your ability to execute in your role, and take care of our property. I just want to point that out, that I think that. That's fine.
Okay. All right, hearing there is no other discussion, let's do a roll call vote. On
Councilmember,
2,500.
Councilmember Emmeline Baker. Aye. Happy,
No.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mayor Shelton.
Aye. Passes for 2,500.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your support and for taking this under consideration.
Thank you. Okay, reports and presentations, 7A, committee report.
No committee reports.
Okay, and charter review committee.
We do have the final presentation of the charter review committee. It's a pretty extensive report. The committee, I wouldn't say a rewrite, but a lot of formatting changes based off of the LOC model charter. Does council want me to read through all of the major changes? Yes. Okay, all right. All right, so at the November 13th, 2023 council meeting, council created the charter review committee and began appointing members. The committee's first meeting was February 15th, with subsequent meetings on March 6th, March 20th, April 10th, April 25th, May 9th, May 16th, May 21st, and June 13th. A public open house was held on June 6th to allow the public to review proposed changes and get feedback. The committee has made significant changes to the formatting and some of the language of the charter, but limited changes to actual content and powers of the charter. The majority of the changes are based off the League of Oregon Cities model charter, which is reviewed and updated by LOC attorneys every few years. The model charter also has footnotes with explanations and reasons. Attached are the current charter, the proposed charter, and the LOC model. Below is a breakdown of the major changes. In an attempt to limit confusion, sections and chapters highlighted in green are referring to the current charter, and those in red are referring to the proposed charter. Preamble. The preamble was added to the charter as recommended by the LOC model. Chapter 1, name and boundaries, no changes. Chapter 2, powers. The wording of section 5, construction of charter, was updated to match the model charter, but no substantive changes. Section 6, distribution, title, and verbiage were changed to match the LOC, but no substantive changes. Chapter 3, the former form of government and the new council chapter. These are the first major changes in the proposed charter. All sections in chapter 3, form of government, in the current charter would be moved to chapter 4, council. Following the formatting of the LOC model charter, the review committee felt that the form of government chapter was not necessary, and all sections fit better into the council chapter, which is the city's form of government. The form of government chapter was eliminated and all subsequent chapters moved up one number. Section 7, council, removed language referring to vacancy not resulting in loss of council power. Section 8, councilors, and section 9, mayor, were removed. Section 17, mayor's functions at council meetings, and 20, mayor, in the current charter were combined together to form section 8, mayor, in the proposed charter. Section 8, mayor, added language that all charter review committee member applications are reviewed by council for appointment and approval. That means all applications go straight to council and are not pre-screened by the mayor. The rest of the committees stay the same. They are submitted to the mayor for appointment and then approval by council. Section 13, records of proceedings, add language about referring to council rules and state laws. Chapter 4, powers and duties of city officials. Section 17, municipal government, was reworded and formatted for an easier read and better match the model charter. Section 18, city recorder, had language regarding city administrator appointing an employee in the recorder's absence removed. Chapter 5, elections, section 19, conduct of elections, added language regarding all elections being nonpartisan. Section 20, tie vote, added the ORS number the charter is referring to. Section 26, qualifications for the council. section 12 qualifications for the council in the former form of government. Chapter 1 change was added to subsection 3, narrowing down the city councilors cannot hold more than one elective office located in Cascade Locks. Before that, it had mentioned, could not hold 2 elective offices at once. The committee determined the original view of that was to prevent somebody from being on the port commission, and city council. So now you could, under this, technically be a county commissioner and a city councilor. Since neither of them are, one of them is not seated in Cascade Locks. Let's see here. Section 27 nominations did not change. However, the LOC model recommends that nomination process is set in ordinance. The city does not have such an ordinance, and the committee recommends creating an ordinance. We have reached out to City Attorney Cleveland to see if the verbiage regarding an automatic change to the section can occur if an ordinance is passed without it going to a vote of the people, and I have not heard back from the attorney yet. Chapter 6, vacancies in office. Section 28, occurrences of vacancies. 1D, ceasing residency in the city, was moved to 2D. Section 29, filling vacancies, added a paragraph in the LOC model that better defines the process. Chapter 7, ordinances, section 31, methods of adoption, added language to remove the confusion on when reading in full versus title only and a single read could be done. Section 32, emergency ordinance was added to give council power to enact safety ordinances during emergencies. Chapter 8, public improvements. The section public contracts and contracts for public improvements was removed as it is guided by state law and city finance policy. Chapter 9, miscellaneous provisions. Section 36, voter approval of taxes and mandatory fees is an update to the current charter section 32 ordinances subsection 4. The proposed section removes all of the vote requirements and peels back the need for the vote to only mandate taxes or fees not already covered by or in city or state laws. The only example fitting this category right now is any tax and the EMS fee. Council now must choose which recommendations to keep and which to remove and how it is presented to the voters. Because this is a complete rewrite and not specific amendments to the charter, it may be very difficult, messy, and confusing to break the changes up into multiple votes. So this is for discussion only, clarification, ask questions. This will need to be the same process as we did for the EMS fees, a resolution to put it to the vote. Yeah, it was quite a bit of a change. Myself and Chair Conlon will do our best to answer your questions.
Yeah, Courtney. You want to come up? Courtney, you can help answer questions.
I'm gonna read you this real quick. Crompton moved to receive applications and a letter of intent. He added applicants will appear before the council in person or virtually July 24th. I'm the only applicant here. Enjoy talking about the charter.
Okay. So we're on the subject of the charter right now. That's what we're on the subject of.
Okay, to piggyback that. I felt that we had quite a discrepancy in understanding in the last time we went to fill a vacancy. And in the new charter, under section 29, it says the mayor or councilor vacancy shall be filled appointed by a majority of the remaining council members. And it seemed as though there was other documentation that said that would be 4. And so how do we clarify that?
Jordan. If it does, there's 2 different things that it says.
Well, isn't in our council procedures that it says 4?
No, it says, by a majority of the remainder.
There was some documentation that it said 4, and I'm not.
I think it's talking about passing an emotion. Would require a vote of 4. And I think that's where the discrepancy came from, because there's a motion, right? And Can you find it?
Yeah, section 30 is part of it, and there's another one that
Section 12, except as this charter provides otherwise, express concurrence of a majority, 4 members of the council is necessary to decide affirmatively any question before the council.
yeah. And then that brings you. Except as this charter provides otherwise, and it provides otherwise in section 30.
29. Or the new one,
And 28, or, yeah, 29,
Yeah.
that,
where it says in the new one, it's the majority of the remaining.
well, it says if there are less than 4.
Right.
So if you have 4, then you need 4 votes. But if there's 3, then you need 2.
Jordan, I know in the past. Jordan, I know in the past when we've done changes, you've crossed out what was changed and then put in red. Exactly, so we don't have 2 separate packets. So I know, like, I was going back and forth between the packets. For me, it's helpful, I mean, this is all really good information, but it's helpful if I see it all on one. Where that was crossed out or changed, then added the new red. Versus having, here's the old one, here's the proposed new one.
I can do that, the committee, and I asked the committee, and they suggested not doing the red line version because there'd be too many changes to even cross-reference. I mean, we moved entire sections and chapters. But if that's what the council wants, certainly can.
I have a suggestion.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, since we already have these levies on the ballot, putting this on there with what we have now would probably guarantee that this will not pass. And since we have a lot of work to do on consolidating the 2, I recommend that over this next time period until another election, that we have work sessions and iron out all those, so it will be ready for the next election.
Proposing work sessions on this.
Yeah.
To dive deeper into it on.
Yep.
And so for clarification.
Right.
So it'll be 2028.
Or 26, but either way, you gotta have 50% vote.
Not for the 26 general election. That's the only time it doesn't have to be over 50. Any other non-general, even year general election requires a 50% of the electorate to vote.
Right.
Yeah.
So it could be ready by 26.
There's some important language in here that I kind of don't want to wait on, and we've had people discussing this at length, a great charter review committee, so I don't want to diminish their work, and if it takes us more time to digest it, well, then we need to work on that. But I see that it's important to get this. Because like you said, if it doesn't pass, well, then we'll take it again in 26.
So to kind of go off of your comment about how important, this committee worked really, really hard on it. Lots of questions, lots of research. And so to use Jeremiah's word of kicking it down the road, I don't want to kick it down the road too far. But I, to Mr. Miller's point, I think to have a work session, and not a half-hour one, but at least an hour one, where we could just kind of go through it and we just need to spend some time on this.
Point of clarification, when would we need to get a ballot written if we were to do that?
August 7th, I believe.
In July, we could put on it.
So if we have this for a work session, July,
Yeah,
we'll be all right.
yeah, I think as long as we have something to the attorney by mid-July at the latest. Because he's still got to do all this paperwork and prep work to get it ready to
Right,
submit to the county.
right.
I mean, it'll be tight, but I'm gonna say middle of July.
So how does council feel about that? Waiting for the First meeting in July, instead of 6:30, we'll have 6 o'clock as a work session from 6 to 7.
Yep. It's good.
Is that consensus? Good?
I lost some procedures. No, I'm like,
Yeah.
so the next meeting is, what is that, July 10th?
Eight.
And so
July 8th.
then we discuss, and then we come back the next meeting with a resolution. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So that's in the 20s.
Yeah.
And so we can't get to,
July 22nd.
but again, we're just kicking the can. Either we do this or we don't. Like,
We can't, we don't have to have a work session affiliated with council meeting. We could call it a work session another time.
Correct.
Mhm.
As long as it's 24-hour notice.
Councilman Keller, I think you bring up a good point about timing. So how does council feel if we scheduled a work session on this specifically?
I would be willing to come to a separate work session, say Monday, July 1st. I don't know if anybody else can do that.
Two Arizona's meeting that night.
Can we ask them to, or they need to have this? Do they use this?
There's the third owl that they use, but we usually also use the same meeting login. We have a general meeting login for all city meetings. That's where the pinch is.
The second. That's
I'm
commission.
out the 2nd through the 11th.
Councilmember Hatt.
The login instructions for attending virtually are put on the public notice for the meeting, correct?
Yes,
So a new city, we could set up a separate
yes,
meeting
we
for
could do
this.
it, yes.
Yeah, I don't think that should be a reason why we can't hold it up. I think it's a very reasonable thing to bring up, because I know that there's people that, like myself, that I just have it saved.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
I don't want to confuse people, but yeah,
No.
we could do a separate meeting, yeah. Or meeting code.
Can we ask Janice a procedural question about?
Yeah.
Do you have Zoom participants come on the same log that we do?
We have had a few attendees and we've also had a few committee members attend virtually. It's not consistent the way that city council is. And I don't see why we couldn't make a different login for that one meeting though, as long as we posted on the agenda.
Thank you. Okay. So the first Monday? We're good with that consensus?
Is there a time anybody prefers? 6, 7?
As long as it's not during the day.
So I just want to understand, what's the purpose of having a workshop? I mean, I'd like you to start seeing that, we appointed the charter review committee. We asked them to review, they went to the OLCC's model charter. We run it by the attorney, what's the purpose of the workshop? And what was it you brought up, Butch? He said that there's too many unknowns and it wasn't gonna get passed.
Well, when you put too many money motions up for vote, you usually lose most of them. Now, people are gonna look at that EMS one and see how, dire that is and how it benefits them, and they're gonna pass that. But they're gonna look at this one now and say, well, we don't need that extra cost on us.
What's the extra cost with this reversion of the charter?
Well, the extra cost is that in this new one, you're trying to give more power to the council to pass monies, taxes.
I didn't read that at all. In fact, it says that if there's any existing fees, they could be increased, but no new fees could be created or taxes.
Yeah, but you created more of a loophole because you reduce, some of the verbiage in there is not the same as the old one. And so you're leaving more wiggle room for discretionary. And they're gonna see that.
How is our workshop gonna address that though?
Well, that's where we get to discuss it, find out.
As opposed to just passing
Yeah,
the recommendation
Yeah.
that's brought to us, having a public meeting where people can. Is public able to comment during workshops?
no, they don't comment during work.
But they can listen.
Yes,
Councilmember Keller, you had your hand up.
I feel like this has to get passed. It's our responsibility. Either you support this or you don't. And if you do support this, then you have to get out there, you have to campaign, you have to do what it takes to get it passed. We have 45 new houses coming in and our system development charges are left in 2000, the year 2000. We bitch and complain about not having money. Let's raise our system development charges so that those houses can benefit our general fund. This is the way to do it. And if you're not supportive of it, then that's fine, that's you, that's it. But if you are supportive of this, then it's our job, Mr. Miller. We need to go knock on doors, we need to go hold town halls, we need to put up signs, we need to do whatever it takes to get this passed. Because that's the only way we're gonna get our city back on track. It's not on the citizens, it's on the construction teams, it's on the companies that come in here and do business. But we can't adjust any of the fees because we're sitting in the year 2008. And I understand the history, I don't wanna listen to another discussion of the history, because I understand it, I've heard it. But I'm with Mr. Happy. I would rather spend time with my family and discuss this now. Because either you support it or you don't.
Councilmember Baker.
On that note, I would defer to a workshop if this body wanted it, and I'm ready to discuss it now. And I looked at the minutes, and I feel it was a very diverse group on the charter committee with
It
diverse
was.
opinions. So I think it's fabulous that this diverse group came to consensus and looked at model, and I'm ready to support it now as well, or discuss concerns we have. I do want to hear the attorney's opinion on that section that we need to know about, because you said there's one section that might have to have an ordinance change as well.
Oh, so that's the nomination. So typically how somebody is nominated for a council position is in an ordinance. The city doesn't have that ordinance, so it's specifically written out in the charter with the dollar amount and everything. Which, if you want to change that dollar amount at some point, requires a charter change, which requires a vote. So we're asking the attorney if we can put some kind of verbiage in here that it automatically updates from that giant paragraph to reference the city ordinance without having to take it to a vote.
So you're gonna.
Yeah, and I have not heard back yet.
Councilmember Miller.
but as far as the SDCs, I agree with you, that's needs to be tackled and needs to be done right away. But as a council, we can take those SDCs and do that by themselves.
When?
We can do it right now,
We have to have a vote of fees.
but
It has to go to November, and you just said, if we put more of this stuff on the ballot, it's gonna get declined.
but you put the SDCs on it by itself. And pass that, and then bring the rest of it in later, because if you just too much stuff with it, they're gonna vote it down.
So we waste more of Cleveland's time.
Because when you go door to door just saying SDCs, hey, folks, it's gonna cost you, it's gonna cost the construction company.
I believe last meeting, I just
You-
sat and listened to Chief Logan talk about a levy. So that we can support our EMS and fire station. And the way that we decrease that levy and the impact that it has on the citizens is by raising the fees to get all of our fees up to the standards of 2024 instead of being stuck in 2000. we can't take every single one to a ballot. It costs our city attorney, we pay for him and his time to sit there and review this. Yes, it's 4 hours a month or whatever it is, but it's gonna take more than that to review each and every petty thing that we put up there. We have to approve this.
Councilmember Baker?
I agree, and taking this to the voters will be very insightful. I think it needs to be done. We have had great. I can't think of a better way to have rewritten our charter than the way that it happened and the time that this committee put into it and some of the community members that came. And so I think it is important to take it to, as Councilman Keller said, it's important now that we pass this now. We go to the attorney, have him write it up so that we can pass it, so we can write a ballot measure and see what our citizens say.
Councilmember Happy?
And in agreement with Mr. Keller, I think that the way that this is gonna get approved and voted on by citizens is not gonna be by participation in our workshop or hearing us debate this. I think that it's gonna have to be more boots on the ground and conversations we have about all the ways this impacts our lives. So I'm ready to move forward with it as it is right now.
Agreed. Well, I mean, I have questions about 29, but that's like words.
I know I had questions on section 8, regards to the mayor appointing. And then, it said they were okay with appointing committees, however, the mayor could not, with the exception of the charter review committee. So it's like they want, it's the mayor can approve committees, but not for charter review committee. It didn't, I like the way it is where mayor can appoint to committees and then the council approves those. There's a reason why it's in there. And it's made for, so there is a diverse group in that committee. If I'm gonna stand by the decisions I made. If I hadn't made those, it wouldn't have been a diverse group. So I'm gonna stand by my decision on that. As far as any of the other changes, I'm supportive of those. I think this charter review committee worked exceptionally hard on it and did lots and lots of research and took everything very, very seriously and asked lots of good questions. They sought legal advice and I was pretty proud of them. So how does council look like to proceed on this? There's been mixed, you gotta come up with a consensus. And
Can I comment on your section 8?
yes,
I find more and more and more that if you want somebody on it or you want people represented, you need to go and talk to them. And if there are people that apply for these committees, I feel like they should be given a chance. And if I didn't fulfill my job and go out there and say, I really think you would be a great asset to this committee, then that's on me. And if only the people that apply are people that I may not approve of, then that's on me, because I didn't do the work to go out there and get applicants that I felt would be qualified. I feel like the charter review is an incredible, important committee that should speak to the diversity of our town. And again, that goes to our requirement, like, go out there and do something, get out there, talk to the people that you want to represent you on this committee.
So are you?
I'm in favor of it as it's written.
Okay.
any other comments? What would you like, it's up to council. So it sounds like we're not gonna have a work session, right?
I think you're not.
Okay, we don't need one.
Could we get clarification on filling vacancies? I want. I mean, I think you set out, Jordan, that we need to create an ordinance or address this
That's for nominations.
for nominations.
Correct, so somebody to file to an election,
Okay,
they fill out the paperwork to be on the ballot. That is what needs to be in the ordinance. The actual vacancy process like we did tonight, that's section 29.
okay.
Yeah.
And so the way I read it is that according to this section 29, Mr. Seeker would have won. Because it says, a mayor or councillor vacancy shall be filled by appointment by a majority of the remaining council members. But I believe somewhere else it is written that it's 4. We need to fix that.
In, if I may, in our council procedures, and I was looking, because I know it's in here, and I can't find it, in that giant 72-page packet, because we had an email this year. I found that it was 4, so I'm looking for that. And it went to our attorney as well.
To clarify, there are 6 remaining council members, so a majority would still be 4. We still wouldn't need 4 votes for anybody to be appointed. Either tonight with the current charter or this charter as proposed. Because it's 3. Yeah, because it's talking about the remaining of the entire council, not who happens to be present tonight.
I'm sorry, I feel incredibly unprepared, and I apologize for wasting people's time, but I believe that it was like us here, and I don't remember if it was Sean got 3 votes or Pam got 3 votes, and we assumed that had won. Because of us here as 5, and it needed to be 4.
So,
Can you help me, Mr. Miller?
It was
We're in trouble. How do we get
it was Brenda Wood that got the 3 votes.
Okay, thank you.
I did find it from, retrieved from a city council handbook. On our government webpage, on our website, page 158 of 220 in the PDF, section 6, council motions at public meetings. Passage, a motion passes. Right now, it's hard to read on this screen. A motion passes only if it receives 4 or more votes, regardless of the number of council members present. 6.3, section 6, council motions at public meetings.
That's also in the current charter and the proposed charter, section 19 of the current charter and section 12 of the proposed charter. So it's in both of these charters as well as the council.
So that seems to say if there are 4, there must be 4 votes.
Except otherwise,
Otherwise directed by the charter, and it's redirected by the charter in section 30.
The only time that would come into effect if there were only 5 councilors. Because on the majority of actual seated councilors would be 3. Right now, with 6 seated councilors, the majority is still 4.
Tell me in the new charter where it.
Section 11.
Section 11. Quorum, the majority of council shall constitute a quorum for its business, but a smaller number may meet and compel the attendance of absent. What?
That's right.
so we have a council member who's absent.
Yeah, no, I
He's not
get that.
Okay.
I hear community members come and say, fix the discrepancies, fix the gray areas. And so that's what I'm coming back and saying, look, it's confusing to me. And so how do we?
This thing that I just read doesn't say unless otherwise noted. It says passes, a motion passes only if it receives 4 or more votes, regardless of the number of members of council members present.
And then what is that?
It's section 6.
Of our what?
The city council handbook, which is on the webpage. It's a PDF.
The
220
handbook
pages.
is not procedures or charter.
It's section 6, council motions at public meetings. It is, let me look at the bottom, what is it called?
Gotta be the council procedures.
The charter supersedes council procedures.
Yeah,
Okay, city recorder council rules is what it came from. Page 7 of 17 for city recorder council rules, but it's page 158 of 220. So then, if that's on our city webpage, that needs to be taken off then or struck more. Because therein lies a discrepancy.
That's a question. If it assumed that the charter has a supremacy clause attached to it, like that is where we start. And we work back off of that.
I thought ordinances.
No, charter's at the top of the pyramid. Everything flows down from the charter.
And Councilmember Miller and Councilmember Happy, if you have a discussion, share it with everybody.
oh, I can,
Thank you.
yeah, I've shown something,
That's kind of going off topic.
yeah,
though.
going off topic.
But I think we should come back to that though. Can we table that for a minute
Yeah.
and then we'll bring it back?
Okay.
Yeah.
Only, Mr. Keller and myself can bring this back. Because we were on the affirmative side on it.
Okay.
So did we get that question answered? Because I have a question going back to section 8, but I don't want to go back there until we get this settled.
I'm fine as long, supremacy clause, we're good to go.
Okay.
So it says, with the exception of the charter review committee. So what happens with the charter review committee then?
All applications go straight to council for,
Where does it say that?
it's, I guess it's implied.
That is unclear though.
Yeah, we can add that direct verbiage in there.
I just was like, well, it says the exception of the, I just was like, well, then what happens? to
Yeah,
that?
we assumed it was implied that, I mean, they go to council.
We can assume all we want, but then there might be somebody that's gonna say, well, that is now I read.
It's black and white.
Yeah. So I think if it's gonna be the exception, then we have to specify that. Anything else on the council?
Anything else in here? I looked at it and I look at it, I'm gonna stand by with all the hard work and everything they've done and that makes sense.
If this body, the majority wants to keep that, except for the charter review committee, then I agree that the details must be put in.
How does everyone feel about that? Good? Councilman good? Miller? Sure. Anything to add?
So I get back to, I guess I'm confused at the confusion because it seems pretty straightforward to me, but.
Just the fact that it says with the exception of the charter review committee.
Well, no, that, I get that, I get
Okay.
that section 8, but for the 4 vote requirement, are we?
Is it clear in the charter that
No.
then it needs to be clarified and tell me that section?
Okay, then what specific verbiage would council like?
Please remind me. Building vacancies, where in the council?
What do you think, Mr. Miller?
Well, the old one was pretty clear. What you needed to get rid of was the original, or the one that directs you to it.
If at any time council members.
third, it says section 29, filling vacancy. It's added a paragraph from the LOC model that better defines the process. That was the reasoning.
Section 30 of the old one is the,
Yeah, so the current charter, section 30, filling of vacancies, council vacancies shall be filled by a majority of the remaining members of the council. The appointee's term of office shall begin immediately and shall continue until the next general election, and the term of that position shall be the unexpired portion of the remaining term. The proposed change is a mayor or council vacancy shall be filled by appointment by a majority of the remaining council members. Notwithstanding the quorum requirements set forth in section 11, if at any time council membership is reduced to less than 4, the remaining members may, by majority action, appoint additional members to raise the membership to 4. As little as a single council member may constitute a majority for the purposes of filling a vacancy council seat if all other council seats are vacant. The appointee's term of office runs from appointment until expiration of the term of office of the last person elected to that office. If a disability prevents a council member from attending council meetings or a member is absent from the city, a majority council may appoint a councilor pro temp.
It's a pretty detailed.
Sounds like a bunch of double speak in
Standing the quorum required.
I know that LOC, I trust and value their recommendations and models.
So I think to hopefully answer your confusion, it does not specifically dispute section 12. It says the majority of remaining councilor members. So if it's 6, the majority is 4, if it's 5, the majority is 3, and then so on down. So the only scenario where the majority would be less than 4, violating section 12, is if there were 5 or less councilors.
So 12 says, except as the charter provides express concurrence of a majority, in parentheses, 4 members of the council is necessarily to decide, affirmatively decide any question before the council.
So I guess the question for council, in a scenario where there's 5 councilors left, does it require a 4-to-1 vote to seat the councilor or a 3-to-2 vote?
I think it requires 4, and even filling of vacancies, if at the time, section 29. If at any time council membership is reduced to less than our 4, in parentheses, the remaining members may by majority appoint additional members. So the remaining members, and that would mean all, to raise the membership to 4. Notwithstanding the quorum requirement, and under quorum.
So that scenario is if there are 3 or less councilors, the only official act they can do is appoint more councilors. They cannot do anything else. Until they have a quorum of 4, then they can do city business. That's what that paragraph is saying.
Okay.
So I can write more direct language. If council wants, regardless of how many people are seated, that it takes 4 yeses for an affirmative action. Whether there's 7 councilors or 4 councilors, we can add that verbiage in. That seems to be the consensus I'm getting, or am I way off?
I think there's a disagreement, but I think it is written that way to prevent a small number of people making decisions for the city. So they're asking for 4 in the case, and that's why there's that clear language of filling vacancies saying that if it's reduced to less than 4, then those 3 better, that's the only time 3 get to vote, the remaining members. If at any time it's reduced to less than 4, the remaining members may by majority action. That's the only time we get to make a passage.
I guess I hear what Jordan's saying. Do we want 4 votes or 3 votes when there's 5 of us?
I would recommend that under section 12, vote required, Except as this charter provides otherwise, express the concurrence of a majority or members of the council is necessary to decide affirmatively any question before the council, except the filling of vacancies for 10. Because then that takes that 4 off the filling of vacancies, and you can do 3 to 2.
So just make an exception when voting for
Yeah,
vacancies.
yeah.
I like keeping it at 4 because I think the point of the law or the ordinance is to say, do not. That this body, this council consists of 7. We want 4 votes to make decisions.
Then you got 4 people left, and you can never come to a decision.
Well, that's unfortunate that they can't.
I agree with Mr. Miller.
That's fine, student.
That's like 3 times, but I think I'm cash. Councilmember Happy, You got it.
The way it is.
you're fine the way it is?
I'm fine with the way it is.
Mr. Heller,
I just don't want to do this again.
are you okay with it?
Because it's open to some interpretation as it is.
Is it like, if there were just the 5 of us, does it take 4 people or 3 people? I would like that defined. And I prefer the 3 to 2 option, but I don't care where we go, and I would just prefer it to.
I like that they chose model League of Oregon Cities language, and that's what they're using, so I don't wanna mess with it.
I guess, until I just read it out loud, it never really clicked in my head. Appointing a pro tem counselor. That's actually pretty radical. I mean, I don't know if that's something council wants to do. Yeah, I read that paragraph several times till just now. It clicked in my head what that meant. I mean, do you want to, if, you know, Eric goes on for a run and gets hit by a school bus and is paralyzed for 3 months, do you want a temporary replacement?
Don't even say that.
Okay, so do they,
Where?
I guess my clarification, where do we define pro tem?
That's a good
That
question.
is a
Because in some instances, pro temps don't get a voting, they get a voice, but they don't get a voting, they don't get to vote.
Yeah, and some pro tems happen to be the oldest member of the council. The Senate pro tem, he's the oldest serving member of the Senate, so.
Well, this is to serve in place of, and that's what the Senate pro tem does, is serve in place of the vice president.
The way I read that, that's only gonna happen if it's a majority of council. Again, the power resides in the council, not in the individual person.
Yeah.
Right?
But do they get a voting majority, do they get a vote?
I'm just talking about the idea of appointing a councilor pro tem. I'm okay with that language, but it needs to be defined whether or not that pro tem would be a voting.
Well, and it says, if disability prevents a council member from attending council meetings with S, or a member is absent from the city, so I presume a length of time is implied there, so maybe we need to add the length.
My guess, yeah, either a disability or their National Guard, they get deployed for a year or something.
So do we wanna put a length of time in there for over?
And I think that could probably be set out in council procedures, not the charter. On what that definition of council pro tem and how it's implemented.
In council procedures, it could be defined whether that councilor pro tem would be a voting member of council.
And this was taken from the League of Oregon Cities.
Correct. That paragraph.
Okay.
Often there are definitions related to documents, so maybe having that.
Good the way it's written.
I have two.
So, question on section 12. Why is 4 members in parentheses? Is it,
Just to show what a majority is.
But it seems like it's defining what the majority is by saying it's 4 members. What if there's only 5 people on council? Wouldn't that number be different?
Well, this is saying a majority of council, which should be 7, is still 4. So,
I see.
yeah,
So it is defined, it has to be
correct,
4.
yes, so, I mean, there could be 5 councilors seated. Business could still run, but it's kind of like this, just assuming those empty seats are a no vote.
I see.
And you still need a majority of the 7 to move anything forward.
Yeah, I'm good with the way it is.
Yes. Mr. Keller?
What do you want, Mr. Miller?
Or I think we need to have it written up before we really sit down and approve it, so we need changes put in there.
We'll do one, 4 or 3. 4. Where do you just want to carry this whole thing from?
No, I would, agree with what I said with section 12,
Is that the only change?
well, when you do that, that allows section 30 or section 28, and it has it rewritten to work. Because if you don't, then you have both of those conflicting against each other again.
So whether it's in section 29 or section 12, it explicitly states the only time 4 votes is not required would be to fill a council vacancy when there are 5 or less councilors seated. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay,
I don't agree, but you can, if the majority want to do that, I want to keep it to match. what-
so I can add that language in there, present it for a resolution on July 8th. It can come to a vote. Council can do any amendments at that time, and either way it gets voted on.
So, but why is that necessary? I feel like it's actually says that already in here.
Well, we have some councilors who feel like it's gray and can be interpreted in multiple ways.
And I think a charter is meant to be at the interpretation of the sitting council in some of the language, so that the next council, things change, the world is
Well,
closed, yeah.
Hopefully it should be written where it's not interpretable by council, but councils can interpret it whatever way they want. At least in my world, making it as black and white as possible makes things a lot easier.
I just respect the team that went to this trouble and the charter that League of Oregon Cities model, so I don't, but I am one person, so if others.
Can you guys explain to me how, like, this isn't clear where the ambiguity is?
Okay, I read section 29, it's saying a majority of the seated council. So when we first started way back in January of 23, and we had 2 vacancies to fill, there was the 5 of us. It was interpreted at that moment in time that we had to have 4 yeses to vote a vacancy, to fill the vacancy. I remember we sat and like, we spent months going through this about what is 4, like, is it 4 or is it 3? Is it going back and forth, back and forth? And so to prevent that ever from happening again, I would like it defined, is it 4 or is it 3?
But doesn't it, I mean, it says a majority of the remaining council members, so if we have 5 on here.
But then you go to section 12 and it says any motion is 4. And you motion, like we motioned Bernard and then we motioned Ms. Kyleman. And so I would interpret a motion to be 4.
But it says except as otherwise, as this charter provides otherwise, and so there's a specific provision about filling a vacancies, that would be. I guess that's where I feel like it's clear that, you know.
I'm sorry. I argued this 2 years ago, and you're making my argument that I gave.
And I argued this as well, and City Administrator Bennett said, oh, those vacant seats are a no vote. I would counter that they are in absentia vote. They are abstaining. If we have 5 people, 2 are abstaining. They're not voting.
Yeah, we need 4.
Right, so that's why I still say the 4, because I do believe that a city council needs to be fully as representative as it can be. And if a quorum is 4, and you have 4, then a quorum is 4. And if that means we have to have meeting after meeting because somebody's not in agreement, well, then we better get somebody on. So I think what is this model charter is saying, let's not leave it up to the, this small body. We need a quorum to make decisions, and a quorum is full. So that's why I stick with that, and the language is written there, and I think it's good. I don't profess to be better at writing this than the committee who spent months doing this, or the League of Oregon Cities. So, and I don't profess to make changes just to please ourselves, when it's government agencies that are meant to help cities have been used as a model, and we've had people working on this for months. That's why.
So to your point, though, we can't make a decision without a quorum. The only thing we can do is fill a vacancy if we have less than 4.
Right.
Which, I mean, I don't,
The issue is the 4 or the 3. If there's 5 of us, 4 or 3. 3.
4.
I agree with your point, Mr. Keller, a couple of years ago, and we went back and forth with 11 members. So that's here.
So how about this? I will write it up and present it as 4 votes being required to appoint anyone to council unless there's less than 4. And then amendments can be made from there at the time of the vote. That work?
Do you write it?
Move the process forward?
According to, but if they're not available, like Sean, let's use this for an example, or
We
you,
have that 4,
right?
just like any other motion.
Okay. How does that sound? Okay.
Yeah.
Good?
Well, then now we would get public comment on it as well.
Are we done?
so what if there's less than 4 though? Yeah.
Who's on first? Who's
If
on
there's
first?
3, then it's the majority.
Okay.
All right, Councilman Miller.
Okay, this is along the same lines. We had a vote earlier on filling that council slot. I wanted to bring you to our minutes of June 10th. Motion. CM Crompton moved to receive applications and a letter of interest for the filling of council position vacated by Tamara Farrell, with a deadline for submitting the end of business day, June 19th. He added, applicants will appear before council in person or virtually at the city council meeting scheduled for June 24th. This motion was seconded by council member Emily Baker, and it passed. Since Mr. Seeger was not here, and the requirement to fill that vacancy is that he be here, I would say that Ms. Kyle should be given that seat. So I'm going to, because I was in the affirmative for her the first time, I am allowed to bring back that motion in the same meeting. So I move that Ms. Kyle is fill our vacancy on council.
I said,
Point of order, didn't we already pass another motion to do this at the next meeting? Didn't we already?
Motion, consensus.
It was a consensus.
Okay,
And this is having to follow the directions from last meeting.
and I'm glad you remembered that, that's good, and that's why I'm so glad we're gonna do it next, I would like to do it next meeting. And I think we'll get more folks in as well.
No, we are required to do it this meeting.
It says we must appoint.
No, it says the applicants will appear before council in person or virtually at city council meeting scheduled for June 24th. That means Bernard had to be here.
To be voted on, you're right.
Yeah.
According to that, and
So-
yet we can, as we do with many motions, we can push them to another meeting.
And
So I guess let's get a second, and then we can have some discussion on
So we did
that.
second, so
Yeah.
this is discussion,
Right, yeah.
this is discussion. Councilmember Happy.
I think prior to this meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, but the applicant, Mr. Seeger, did reach out to the city administrator and the presiding officer, our mayor, to let them know that he may not be able to be here due to his pre-existing plans. So that does not necessarily mean that he wouldn't be eligible for consideration. We did say that anybody that we were gonna vote to appoint needed to be here. He's not here, we're not appointing him.
And since he's not here,
On that note as well, I think it's good that he wasn't appointed tonight because I had forgotten that stipulation in the first motion. And we already had a vote and didn't pass, and I thought it was a good condition that we come again in 2 weeks. And maybe whomever. Is it written? I don't know if it was on the Facebook post that you must attend. Was the post to make sure that when we're seeking applicants, that we say you must be virtual, and does it say you must be virtually present or present at the meeting? Because then that would fall on us, the city, for not being clear. So I wouldn't hold it against somebody for not following a rule that we didn't tell them. No, it doesn't say that. Applications are available at city website. Please include a letter of interest. Doesn't say.
Okay.
that.
So in the interest of time, because we're kind of going backwards a little bit on this, but there has been a motion, there's been seconded, we've had discussion. Is there any more discussion on this? Okay, so we need to, Councilman Miller, will you restate your motion?
I move that we appoint. I don't know why I have trouble saying.
Courtney.
Courtney to vacant city council spot.
Second.
That discussion, okay, roll call vote.
Councilmember Emmeline Baker,
No.
Happy,
Nope.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mayor Fountain.
No,
Bunch of liars.
so it doesn't pass. So, we're back to the next couple weeks. Which we agreed on. And I just want to remind council, and I'll wait till the closing comments. So can we get back to the charter review committee and what's written?
I'm happy
What
to,
have we already?
yeah,
Are we,
That's,
can you restate what you're doing?
Yes, well, I guess first thing, council on a red line a little bit.
no.
I will rewrite the verbiage specifically stating that a vote is 4 affirmatives, even when it comes to appointing counselors, unless there are less than 3 counselors. And then council can debate from there on how to amend it.
and
Because right now we're gonna go in circles. I think it needs to move to a point where a vote is required to actually make progress.
Okay. That's it. All right. Let's go into city administrator Bennett report.
I don't have too much. I have the crime stats that I've broken up a little bit more than I typically have. 149 calls for May, down 9% from last May, with had 7 theft or burglar related cases. Of those 149, 59 calls were vehicle stops, representing 40%. There were 49 patrols in the month of May for a total of 150 hours. Average hours per week were 34.1, average of 4.8 hours per day, and 0.3 hours per patrol. That math might be wrong, I'll have to double check that, that seems off. Average patrols was 11 per week and 1.6 per day. I'm gonna double check my math, that seems off, 1 second.
Do like 1.1 or something.
Sorry, yeah, it should be 3 hours per patrol, not 1, sorry. Any questions on the crime stats? For the July holiday, city will be closed Thursday, July 4th for observance of the holiday. Packets will be out for the July 8th council meeting on that 3rd. Would council like them delivered to anybody Wednesday afternoon? Okay. Juneteenth, does council want to move forward with the resolution making Juneteenth a city holiday? Staff can prepare a resolution for July 10th. Or July, sorry, and July 8th, right?
July 8th.
I don't know why I keep getting those days. mixed up.
Research. How does council feel about it?
I feel positive about that.
Okay,
Councilman Miller?
Mixed emotions here. I mean, I don't want to be called racist if I don't think I am, but you have Black History Month, you have Kwanzaa, and now you want to have Juneteenth. Veterans have 1 day. Those who served this country and lost their lives have 1 day. Somewhere it's not fair. That's it.
So if it's not consensus, we could get it on meeting and talk about it. That good? Okay, can we put that on for next meeting?
Yep.
All right, please. Thank you. July 8th.
July 8th, yes, I don't know,
Okay,
I was the only person that did that too, I don't know why.
that's okay.
The Transportation Growth Management Grant, the city's transportation system plan, TSP, was last updated in 2001. The state recommends it is reviewed and updated at least every 5 years. The TSP provides a broad overview of all transportation systems, which include vehicle, rail, air, bike, public transit, and pedestrian in the city. Expected transportation demands and desires, the improvement goals, design standards, and estimated costs are all part of the TSP. If the city wishes to apply for a large grant for transportation improvements, this plan needs to be updated. Oregon DOT and OLCC partner together to create the Transportation Growth Management Grant Program. The city will be applying for a grant to complete a new TSP. The grant application requires approval from city council to apply and enter into an agreement with ODOT if the grant is awarded. I will be presenting the letter for approval at the July 8th council meeting. The requested grant will be for $250,000. The way this works is, we are awarded the grant. We never actually received the money though. It's all handled through ODOT. We use one of their consultants to help us build the plan. That will be presented.
And that's enough.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. There is a small match by the city. It's not very much so. But I've talked to the TGM folks 3 or 4 times about this, working on the application, the process. The amount, they said 250 is plenty.
What's the city's responsibility?
We have to coordinate public involvement. It'll be just like the strategic plan, the downtown plan we're doing, will be.
Okay,
it'll
sorry,
be another
you said the city, when you said the city has to put in, I heard finance.
Oh, yes, sorry, yeah. I believe it's 10%.
So 25,000.
25,000, yeah.
And where's that coming from?
It'll actually won't happen until the next budget. My thought is streets reserve. But I need to double check exactly where that money would fit best. But I mean, this plan needs to be done. It should have been done 20 years ago. Because it's one of those things that for whatever reason just did not get done, and we're at a point where it needs to be done.
Just to clarify, the plan was done in 2001.
Correct.
Because we need a great one, we just need to update the old plan.
No, we need to do a whole new one. It's beyond the point of even being useful. It's before any of the stuff built in Windsong, Shahala.
So it's scrap.
It's garbage.
It's arcade.
Yeah. It needs to be from the ground up. That's why it's so much. So yeah, I'll be presenting that letter for approval at the next meeting.
It seems like a timely topic considering some of the public comment we heard this evening.
Yeah, and so if the timing works out, right around the time we finish the downtown plan and approve it, we'll roll right into the TSP grant. So as soon as that's done, we can start this, so the items from the strategic plan, the downtown plan will then be folded into the TSP. So it's all stepping stones. Couple other small items, the substation we are buying from BPA is held up in the county recorder's office. I kind of thought recording a deed would take a day or two. It's been 2 months. They had issues, and I'll go to the email here. The county did not like the font clarity of the text and the font size of some of the exhibits, particularly the record of survey. This email from Brent Leslie, who's the realty specialist from BPA. I have been going back and forth with the county and we'll get and they will record the smaller text for an additional fee that they are paying. Also, I was able to get a copy of the ROS record of survey that is more legible. So hopefully it'll be cleared up. Everybody I've ever talked to has never seen this before, so I don't know what the county's issue was. I know this substation is very old, so that might be the issues. Any documents they're trying to pass along are 50, 60, 80 years old. But that should be done hopefully by the end of this month.
By the end of this month, couple days?
We paid for it back.
Way to be positive.
We paid for it back on May 6th, so we're still waiting for the paperwork to finish.
Okay.
Yep, and the last thing, all of our items to the auditor have been submitted, so they are finishing up the audit for 21-22.
That was on my list.
Yes, yeah, that's finally, every time we would go, okay, we're done, we'd get one more thing they want clarifying on, and we're done. That's all I got.
That's it. Okay. Comments. Councilman Keller?
We have 10 minutes, so I will be incredibly short. I wanted to second Miss Emily Baker's comments from last meeting about honoring Pride Month and those in our community that face those issues and recognize the substantial rates of suicide that they face. And thank you for the civil discourse.
Councilmember Baker?
I just want to say thank you to the citizens who came and who speak diverse opinions to, again, this body, which is all volunteer. Mayor and councilors, I appreciate all of your hard work. I want to just say a couple of things that, yay, the downtown committee met, and I hope community will show up. Is there still an opening on that committee?
Yes, there's
And
4 actually.
and they're talking, what was exciting when I went is ODOT is on the table, talking about Wanapa. And I don't know if y'all noticed the 2 yellow things at the crosswalk by the post office from the ale house that happened. I don't know if it was correlative or positive after somebody from our community said they felt very unsafe walking across Wanapa. So please, ODOT is at this downtown plan meeting, so citizens, please come and make comments on that, as well as, so it's about streetscaping, and we don't own Wanapa, ODOT does, as well as the buildings and codes, and then went to the LSC Small Cities meeting that was here. again, we've spoken about legislature, one thing, and I don't know how this body, if we put it on the agenda that was big on there, they talked about that I mentioned before, was the state has provided more easy access and maybe some funds to get speed cameras. Now, that would be, I asked if we would get any funds from that, and they said, it's the same as your county contract with the sheriff. Whatever speeding tickets whatever percentage they get from speeding tickets now, they would get from the cameras. Which brought to my mind, does our contract have any percentage of traffic tickets coming to the city? And is it too late? We already write a contract for next year?
No, you're not. It's
So-
actually on my list to talk with them to renegotiate their contract.
And so
Yes.
that's something we might want to discuss as a council about a certain percentage of speeding tickets within the limits of Cascade Locks comes to the city of Cascade Locks. Because apparently League of Oregon Cities says that happens with cities. And that if we got the cameras, we even discussed places they might be necessary on Forest Lane where people are going fast and big trucks. And on, Wanaka, as was mentioned tonight by Shayna, people coming up the highway, so that's something for us to look into. That was one of the big legislative wins that League of Oregon Cities, and again, housing, and there was a gentleman there from I sector. There is the federal government funds and state funds to help build workforce housing. And I know it's part and parcel with their downtown plan. Our downtown plan currently says change of use now is like commercial on the bottom, could be residential on the top. So this body beginning to talk about housing and I know we don't have a on-site economic development grants writer. Sometime I don't know how to help us chase down this money because I know Durham is very busy. And then I went to the first McKed meeting for which had been our representative. It was virtual. The next one will be live. And again, McKed can do help if we have committees or if they want us to help write grants, they can do that. They can help with businesses and business loans. I just want this community to know the McKed, I even asked the executive director, so you sort of are our economic development arm for the city since we don't have one. We know that the port is. So all these, and the port just finished their strategic planning. You listened to the last meeting. So it's exciting that all these plans are coming together, and let's not miss the boat. And if we need a committee, I'm just putting that there because this body might know. And then the other exciting nonprofit, Main Street, is able to apply for grants that sometimes cities and ports cannot apply to, or in collaboration. And Main Street is having an event tomorrow at Gorgas, 5-day bingo fundraiser to help with the nonprofit setup fees, and to share information if anybody's interested in coming. And thank you, everybody. Have a safe forum. Councilmember Miller?
Thanks staff for all their hard work and putting all this material for us. Making sure we get it. And thank Tiffany, Cody, and Shayna, and Courtney for their presentations. And let's see. In the next meeting you have with ODOT there, would you ask them to put those same type of barriers or that they have along that double yellow line right there in front of the east wind to stop people from making a left turn? As a double yellow line, they're not supposed to turn, but they do, and they create a hazard there. And that's it.
Can I piggyback that? And I don't know. The line, the drive-through line goes into the bike lane, and then that squeezes everything. So I don't know if we can paint the curb yellow back, or I know that various establishments in Portland, like if the line gets too long, they have to shoo away people. I don't know, it's unsafe.
It is, that part was brought up. at the meeting and it's ODOT and it's a code violation as well as, you know.
So maybe there's a citizen out there that could report to that code violation.
So, and I don't know if that is a police that to park on a bike lane and to park up over the sidewalk. I don't know if that is a sheriff violation, is it a city? They're not meant to park the cars that are in that line, and they're also not meant to back up traffic on them. There's a lot of things that need to be changed in the downtown plan and then enforcement followed up on. Yeah, sorry.
Councilmember Happy.
Great discussion this evening on a whole bunch of topics and, I don't know, I kind of like it when we don't all agree on things, you know, I think it'd be, you know, the fact that we have so much debate and discussion, I think really, I learn a lot from what we talk about. And I appreciate everybody's professionalism and, not only sharing your viewpoint, but listening to other viewpoints, even if I agree. So that's really all I got.
First of all, I thank staff for preparing everything. You guys do an amazing job. Keep us all on track. Thank you for this open discourse. I would, Councilman Keller, Happy, I agree with that. We may not all agree all the time, but it's always important to be respectful. Those are things I look for in appointments. Is that person respectful? How do they behave when they don't get their way? And because you go to these big classes and conventions and everything, and there's a whole bunch of different people with a whole bunch of different ideas. And you've got somebody representing you who's gonna stand on a soapbox and yell or anything. That's not good for the city. We can all agree to disagree. I think it's super healthy, you know, and to have really good conversation. And I really appreciate council tonight that it was civil discourse and we got a lot of stuff talked out. So I really appreciate that. Thank you to Chief Logan for being here this evening. I know you have a full long day. Thank you for all the individuals, community speakers. Charter Review Committee, they did a great job with it. They really, really worked hard. So I really got to thank all them. Giannis, thank you for coming and presenting. And I know it was last minute, but thank you. I appreciate you. And then Shayna also, she brought some really good points to council. And so I really appreciate that. And we all do want a safe city and a safe town. And then just thank you to Hood River County Sheriff. Thank you for coming to this evening. Appreciate that. And at that, I think we're done. So we just need a motion to end the meeting.
Second.
Discussion. No discussion, roll call vote.
Councilmember Emmeline Baker. Happy.
Aye.
Keller. Miller.
Okay.
Merrill.
Aye. All right, thank you.
You think we shall?